think it's crucial. I've heard time and time again over the past 2 years stories of organizations being completely underwater on a deal they struck with a partner because the U.S. dollar or the euro moved in a negative way against their local currency. And we know a big reason for this, and as many of the listeners on today know, is that most distributors are locked into purchasing agreements with their end users, and yet the costs of inventory are at the mercy of volatility, right? So, the risk this poses is it's just too great to ignore. And to add to that, I think many companies are seeing, we've talked about the increase in volatility these past few years, and we know it's likely going to grow given the current global economic climate. And again, it's why we're seeing such high response rates from companies globally suggesting this is a major concern. Most currency pairs, can move several percent over the life of an invoice. I've actually seen upwards of 20% or even more, even on major currency pairs over short periods of time, 60, 90 days. And naturally that erodes margins significantly and puts a big risk to any company. I think you add to that, back to the earlier question, banks offer discounts, but they do that at higher rates. So it pushes, some of these mid and smaller size, even large market companies, to consolidate invoice volumes, across multiple months. So, I might have a 30, 60, 90-day invoice. I'm going to consolidate that volume into one spot transaction in order to get that discounted price. But you think about that, that's taking all of that volume and putting at even greater risk of volatility over that time period. So, historically, I guess, it's required a pretty sophisticated strategy to manage that. And most have required either, a treasury department or an entire team to keep on top of rates or to work with their banks to find, ways to manage this. But naturally that wasn't and still really isn't, a good option for the majority of companies. And I'd say that's both at small and mid, but even at the large size organizations, we're seeing kind of, this being an issue. And again, it's why we're so excited to bring, some of these tools to market. Now, the average organization has the power and liquidity of some of these, like the biggest global companies, all at your fingertips, right within MyCaribou, and at rates that take into account, all the great characteristics of the medtech industry that we were talking about. You combine that with the economies of scale of MyCaribou's network, and it's pretty incredible. I'll mention here, just as it relates to that, within the MyCaribou solution, we're able to offer, forward contracts, locking in rates, or hedging, however you want to call it, no collateral, no margin, no minimums and no fees. It's somewhat unheard of in the industry. And it's really the scale of our network combined with, the unique dynamics of the medtech industry that creates this perfect storm and unlocks this value. So, as I keep saying, I'm incredibly excited to be offering that we're bringing this to market.
Yeah, so smaller organizations aren't getting worse rates than larger ones just for the sake of them being smaller. That's part of what you said there, I think.
Exactly. So regardless of the size of the organization, and again, you go back to banks, it's very specific to market, like the size of transaction, the size of the organization,
right.
The risk profile might be, whereas within what we're able to do, because it's an industry specific offering, everyone can take advantage of these rates and get some of these tools that historically were only offered for multinational, $1 billion type organizations.